I've been the kind of person before that swore he was going to change his life. Year after year after year after year after year. And it wasn't until I turned 23 years old to where I finally decided to flip the switch for myself. I remember being someone that was living at home. I had just bought a course from someone who was 24 years old and he was making like 20 grand a month in his online business. And he reminded me a lot of myself. He had a lot of character traits that I aspired to have. And I was like, man, if this guy's 1 year younger than me and he's making more money than my parents combined, what am I doing wrong as a man, right? And it wasn't until I started adopting different mindset hacks, different ways of thinking about the world, and really just viewing myself in a different way to where I was actually able to go from weighing over 220 pounds. I was taking 5 different prescription medications. A lot of people don't know that. I was taking Lexapro. I was taking all these other ones I don't even remember the names, like Trazodone right before I went to bed, Bupropion, and all these other things that I was kind of like dealing with at the time. I was kind of suppressing with medications in order to just like quote unquote function in society, right? And I was not working out like I mentioned earlier. I had no healthy habits, so much so that when the whole happened, I guess I can say it, right? There's the mask kind of gesture, right? When that was going on in 2020, I remember thinking to myself at the time, I guess the world just doesn't know what I go through. And the reason I say that is because when everyone was complaining about not seeing their friends or not going to this place or not going to that place or not going to the gym, and everyone was feeling so down in the dumps because they were cooped up, I was living like that already. So literally, guys, like I knew like my whole, and this is kind of funny now, but I'm telling you as someone who's been there, done that, right? Like I'm not someone who's always had certain things figured out in my life. I remember being the person that when that was going on, nothing about my life changed. And that was when I knew right then and there that something about my life had to change. And the way that I started doing it was by doing a few simple things that I'm going to be kind of spitballing today. I have no script. I'm going to be talking from the heart to you all and just kind of doing whatever I can to provide real life value, no fluff, no BS, just the truth that you need to hear to actually change, right? The first thing I had to do is I had to get super uber real with myself. And the reason I'm saying this is because most people nowadays lie to themselves about them doing better than they are, right? Like a lot of people stay stuck financially because they own nice things. They don't actually assess where they're at. A lot of people think they're doing better socially because they've been hanging out with the same 5 friends forever, right? A lot of people think they're good in these areas of life when really, if we're being honest, you're not. And that's not bad. Like everyone has different levels of incompetency, right? But the first step in fixing anything is admitting that you're incompetent in that area. That way you can make a plan to get better and improve your performance, right? Such as my fitness. I was already someone, guys, I was working out quite often. When I was 220 pounds, it's not like I was someone that was super out of shape. Not necessarily, it's not like I wasn't in the gym, guys. Like I was pretty decent compared to most people. When I wore a shirt, you couldn't tell. I just looked like a bigger dude, right? And I was still not happy with myself, right? Because I always had this version of myself unlocked in my head to where I was working out every day. I was following a structure. I had this going on. I had that going on. And I just was not living in alignment with that version of myself. My actions and my words and my thoughts all did different things from each other. And that, in my opinion, as a man, is like the most terrible form of suffering that you can possibly endure. And talking about it even gets me choked up a little bit, right? So when I realized that during the whole pandemic going on, that I was in a pretty bad situation because most people were kind of dealing with that whole isolation kind of thing really bad, I was able to understand that my pain tolerance was actually pretty high. So because of that, I was able to actually make the change necessary in order to succeed, because I took that same exact situation and I started reading more books. Not only did I read those books, but I actually started putting them into action. So any information that you all consume, please be sure that you're actually putting the work in to make it happen. Because if you're not actually taking the information, changing your beliefs, and then changing your thoughts, and then changing your actions as a result of it, you're just acquiring new information in your brain, and you're tricking yourself into thinking that you're doing something productive when you're not. Like if you're watching my YouTube video, or you're watching any other content creators' YouTube videos out there, and you're not changing actions, if you're not changing your thoughts, if you're not changing your beliefs, and you're not taking bits and pieces from this person and that person in order to create, the new version of yourself, then you're pretty much just wasting your time watching my content or anybody else's. This is just another form of entertainment, and you are consuming all these self-improvement videos just so you can feel less bad about being lazy. And if that's you, so be it. But don't lie to yourself, right? Like, just accept that's what you want to do and move forward as necessary. But if you're someone that actually, truly, and genuinely wants to change your life this upcoming year, be someone that actually understands the process of changing your life, right? And it all starts with acquiring new information, changing how you are internally, and then letting that internal change dictate what you then do externally. And that external change then creates different results, and then it becomes a feedback loop, ideally speaking, right? So if you read a book on confidence or you read a book on fitness, right? Let's just keep it fitness oriented. You read a book on working out better and doing better nutrition. You start understanding food is fuel. So then you start looking at food as, guess what? Fuel, not another form of pleasure, right? So then when you are presented with the opportunity to get donuts or chicken and rice, and then you think food is fuel, not another form of pleasure, well, the chicken and rice is gonna make me feel better, and it's gonna fuel my body better, so I'm gonna go eat that. And then guess what happens? You end up getting more results, you get the fuel, boom, that's a vote in that direction that's the vote in the direction of the man that you're becoming. So you take that vote again, and that's another vote, and more votes. And then eventually what you wanna do is you wanna kind of cast all the votes that you've had before from here, and then if these are your fat votes and these are your fit votes, eventually you wanna just take the slips and then make them go here. And even when you get here, you still have to vote in this direction because you want to make this distance as big as you can in order to prevent this from ever happening again, right? So anytime you acquire new information, do your best to take the speed of implementation all the way down to as close to zero as possible. As soon as you find something out, take the action, test the results, see if it works for you, and if it does, optimize it, keep on doing what you're doing. If it doesn't, try a different way. With fitness and nutrition, there's so many different ways to skin the cat, quote unquote. And my way might work for you, another person's way might work for you. At the end of the day, don't get married to a method, get married to the outcome, and then figure out the method that works best for you in the most practical way. The next thing is to change your environment. And if you can't change your environment, at least change the presentation of it. Sometimes what we do, guys, is we have like all these messy things around us, and it's like it's an external representation of how we're feeling inside. If we're feeling scatterbrained, we have all these things all over the place, guess what you're gonna do? You're gonna have all these things all over your place physically. And this is a pattern that I've noticed for myself, right? I've noticed this with a lot of clients that I've worked with as well, is that when we're coaching them with their fitness, sometimes they don't have the work ethic issue, right? Sometimes they don't have the consistency issue. Sometimes they don't have the habit issue. But what ends up happening is they get in their head about something, they have something going on with their family or with their work or with their wife or their kids, and that stops them from taking the actions necessary to see the results, and that ends up affecting our progress overall. So understand that if you don't necessarily take care of your environment, you are going to not only get affected by it, but then it ends up just reiterating itself a little bit more, right? So sometimes what I've done for myself that's helped me out tremendously is I'll actually clean up my environment a little bit more, and then that cleanliness ends up allowing me to kind of take care of the inside a little bit more, and then I just kind of reorganize some things. I'll journal quite a bit and then just figure out what I got to do to get better, right? And that's a big thing that's helped me out, is just taking care of my cleanliness and going from there. Next step is to make sure that you are doing your best to take care of your body. Again, guys, fitness was the foundation to everything I've done in the last 3 years. And fitness is something that to this day, I am getting more and more sold on the idea of it myself. That is the best place to start when it comes down to your self-improvement journey, if you want to call it that, or whatever you're trying to do as a man, right? Like, start getting in shape as fast as humanly possible. And once you learn how to do it, stay there. You don't have to be in a bodybuilding competition to be healthy. You don't have to take all these pre-workouts. You don't have to take all these supplements in order to be someone that values taking care of your health. You can be someone that just likes working out, that likes tracking your calories, that likes doing these things that make you feel better about yourself. That way, when you're shaking someone's hand in a business meeting, you're able to present the best version of yourself possible. If you're meeting new people, you're able to be present with them. If you are doing this or doing this or doing this, you have more stamina, you have more energy, you have more focus, you have more willpower. You're able to show up and perform to the best of your ability because you decided to take care of the man in the mirror. So understand, Have a fitness routine dialed in. Have a cardio routine dialed in. Yes, cardio is necessary. The most important muscle in your entire body is this one right here. And I'm not talking about your left upper chest or your left chest muscle in general. There's two sides of the muscle. You know what I mean? I'm talking about your heart, right? Take care of your heart because we only get one of them. And heart disease is one of the most common common sources of death in the USA. So make sure that you do your best to prevent that with eating clean, using it, and drinking your water, all the basic fun stuff, right? And the last one I kind of want to touch on today is to just focus on the 1% improvements every single day. Every time that I try to change my life in a day, I failed. But every time I committed to changing it in 6 months, I succeeded beyond my wildest dreams. But the issue is that people end up looking at that 6-month journey and then they look at their progress 2 weeks in and it looks nothing like where they're going to end up, and they end up giving up too soon. You just have to trust that when you're doing the work, it's going to work on you before it works for you. And the habits that you're building, the consistency that you're building, the character that you're building, the grit that you're building, the intensity that you're building along that pathway is going to be the very same thing that allows you to keep that result once you get there. As long as you keep that habits and you make the outcome the secondary thing, and you make the actual habits and the daily execution the real goal for yourself, eventually those things are going to line up for you better than you can possibly imagine. You just have to trust the process, fall in love with it, be someone that enjoys doing the hard work, someone that enjoys pushing yourself, being someone that enjoys the long, grueling, suffering workouts, tracking your calories, choosing the healthier option, even though it hurts short term, but then you decide to do it because you like the result and the man that you're becoming. When you decide to do things like that, your life will change. And if you just change one habit at a time, that's been my secret to everything, guys. Like every time I get in a little rut or something, I've always just kind of decided to just start over. So you know what? Okay, cool. This week I'm just going to focus on waking up on time. It might sound super stupid, but guess what I do? I win. I know how that sounds, but it's just the truth, right? Like every goal that I've set since 2020, within reason, I've either accomplished or I'm working on accomplishing. The likelihood of it happening is pretty high, right? And I say that with humility, I say that with gratitude, and I say that with 100% transparency. You know what I mean? So with that being said, none of that has happened with me just deciding one day to, going from zero and then tomorrow I'm gonna wake up at 4 a.m. and do a cold bath and do this. It's never worked out for me like that. It's always been me saying, okay, look, this is where I'm at right now. I am radically transparent with myself. You don't have to like the truth, but you do have to accept it. That way you have a clearly defined starting point. And then once you have that clearly defined starting point, then you can start figuring out the next steps in order to get to the outcome. But unless you have that starting point, you don't know where you're going, right? You're kind of like a chicken with your head cut off trying to figure out how to navigate life. And that's unfortunately what a lot of people do nowadays, right? And if you want to avoid what most people do and get, don't do what most people do, and you won't get what most people get, which is practically nothing, right? So understand that if you really want to succeed this upcoming year, you're going to have to change so many things about what you're doing. You're going to have to change the way you think about life, the way you think about yourself, the way that you choose to operate in this room, in that room, in that room, and how you start planning your days out, and all these other things that most people are going to look at you like you're crazy for. But it's better to be crazy and successful than completely sane and unsuccessful if you're someone that values achieving your fullest potential. So thank you all for watching this video. I love you all very much. If you all like these style of videos to where it's more raw, uncut, whatever, I'd be happy to film a little bit more of these because I can knock these things out like easy peasy, lemon squeezy, none too crazy. Production ain't too crazy, but I like just kind of helping out however I can. So love you all very much. We'll talk soon. And again, if no one's told you in a minute, I'll tell you right now, it's time to get your shit together, man.